So it is, little ones, we talk to you. Yes, I am Kwan Yin. I am energy. Yes, the energies are being and going. All right. So being is one thing that the human practices to be human being, which means not getting, extracting, and pulling information for tomorrow into today. And the other part of the human that is extending itself into this world now is one that is capable of metabolizing photonic light. The plants, especially the green plants or the green leaves on the plants, are totally capable of transmuting photonic light into energy life force. And the human is capable as well. But the energies of their history may get caught in the transmutation. And remember, we have said for so many years that each one of you is a transistor, which means you carry energy, that you take energy and you move it to other places. And so in the meditations where it is that one goes into their heart and then they connect to the earth, that's one way to transist and make energies move. And then go into their heart and go into the heavens or to the solar system or to the central sun. This is another way to bring energy. But the connecting inside of the heart is the most important place, because in your heart there are transistors, yes, and there are energy breakers that will not let you corrupt yourself if in fact you are in your heart. Many people use their mind, to use their brain, and they talk inside their heads to themselves, which can be very confusing, but also very demeaning, yes? One has judgmental characters inside of themselves. But when you're moving into a higher state of consciousness and you recognize that this voice in the brain, in the head, is as though it is an invader in your world. And if you're speaking to your heart, the invader of the mind, the invader of the brain, is going to be automatically short-circuited. Not so good in the household if you short circuit your electricity and all the electric lights go out in the house when you need them. But when it is that you need yourself to be absolutely clear and honest with yourself and with others, go straight into your heart, and that will interrupt. It will be a circuit breaker. It won't let that circuit of negative thought patterns and that self-talk, or even that corrupted part of self that has opinions. Remember that opinions in the past have been acceptable or useful to some degree, but not necessary. And as you triumph over the third dimension, you are going to find that your opinion is not worth anything, nothing in this world. It is the absolute of yourself and what it is you know in your heart. And your heart speaks in certain ways, but it doesn't have a voice. Your tongue is the extension, remember, of the heart. And the first organs in the embryology and the embryo and the small one as a fetus, that the energy comes through the heart, and the extension of that energy is the tongue in the physical world. And so speaking with your heart, recognizing your tongue as a purposeful energy which moves itself around as you control your words or as you remember how to sing or whatever it is that you're doing. But this purposeful energy is to move the harmonics of your inner being into the outer world. And so that's why when little ones are being taught, let's say in India or in some other country where they're being taught by chants, or they're talking by sutras, or they're talking about Sanskrit relationships to chanting, and they remember so much more. And so now it is that when you get something in your brain that you want to remember, you have to say it a couple times, but also put a little music with it. Just remember somebody's name, you can give it a little singing part, or you can remember how to say that name because you've made association. But for the most part, the tip of the tongue is a very important aspect of the human physiology. It carries the energy forward from the body out into the world, and it has its own way in which it curves and it modulates the vibration, and the heart is capable of carrying harmonics. Now, when you have doctor visit and you go and you see where your heart is working, it goes blip, blip, blip. That's only one aspect, and it's very third dimensional. Remember that there are harmonics, and therefore the graduating and crescendo aspects of where your heart is moving to and what you're moving through are far more important than the regular heartbeat. A regular heartbeat is quite boring, and it also keeps the person quite stagnant. That's why one reason for someone to do some exercise that gets their heart rate up, it isn't about making your heart pump harder. No, it's about letting your heart access the other aspects of your relationship to the cosmos, which is a harmonic. Now, we have shown and given to you in the past information about solar waves and how it is the vibration of the universe comes through, not just on the airwaves, but on the vibratory countenance of the sun, the moon, and your planet. And so it doesn't just move around in the sky and the moon is in a different place. It's changing its harmonics. It's changing the vibration. It's a lot like if you have your car window open a little bit in the car, it will make a noise, and it will make a different noise if you change how wide your car window is open. And all these things, as much as you can do of opening your heart and giving yourself permission to be with what is in an accepting, and we're not even going to really insist on the word loving, just work for accepting, which means just open to it, like a child whose eyes fly wide open. They're not going anywhere. They're just listening to what is happening, and all of a sudden something is modulating inside of them, and they have a belief or a disbelief, but they have an incredible amount of awareness. And the brain, of course, through the first 3, 5, 6 years in a graduating strain of events, has different brain waves that are being activated. And so you can go back into that in your own world, but you have to remember that it's a little bit of saying to yourself, or one of those little expressions where it is that you go, oh, it's just and ooh, yes, and all these things, they are vibration inside. The is opening and accepting, and the ooh is a type of rejecting. And your heart knows these pieces of information. There's a part of you that knows what we're talking about. There's a way in which you can move from this moment into the next state of your creation by recognizing how it is that you're using your heart and how it is your mind is coordinating. So peace and quiet is very useful. Yes, peace and quiet for periods of time. But also, it's to not let that voice in your head contaminate your feeling body, because the voice in the head, suppose you did something and you went through a stop sign, or you had a flashing instance, and you can do that, and it in itself is not a big deal as long as you didn't crash into anyone. But the inside goes, oh no! And so there's an interruption in your energy, there's a judgment call, there's a vibrational change, there's an emotional, physiological shift in the body, mind, and spirit just from that one moment. And so imagine how many times during the day your emotional body is responding to the impulses being given out, especially in times when it is that there are critical mass on the planet that are believing in one way, and then a critical mass believing in another way. It's a lot of energy flowing out from your planet into the never land, and it's not very smooth right now. It is the job of each and every human to give permission for the smoothing of their own energy to happen, which means time with oneself, and recognizing that there is a lot of forgiveness that the humans can do for themselves when they recognize that they have been, let's say, impeaching themselves. You know, it's already happened. They've already been given the right to move forward, and yet there's a judgment call in there that says, that's not good. You didn't do it right. Get it out of there. You need to be punished for that. You need to be removed. And so there's all this self-talk that goes on inside. So recognize that the mental body is not in charge of your life, but the mental body is very much adapting all the time to what it is the social and cultural aspects of life are all about. And so the word acceptance comes in. Accept yourself and stop needing acceptance from other people, especially at these times when it is you're individuating, when you're recognizing who you are, what it is you have to say, or what it is you believe in, and you're going to say it or you're not going to say it. But permission to be that makes your vibration congruent with what your belief system is. It makes you into a stronger human being because you are standing behind yourself. You are giving voice to what you believe. And it is through the belief system that all things materialize. So if you find that you are correct, that's lovely. If you find you are incorrect, time for a little alteration in the perception. And that needs to happen in a lot of people's lives to alter their perception, especially if their same old habitual patterns have gone into a state of affairs where it is that you have a negative flow in your life, whether it's in the family or it's in the business or it's in the religious aspect or the political aspect. When there's a negative flow, that is nothing other than the human interrupting their own heart words, their own heart flow, because the heart never makes choices or speaks out in a way where others are going to hurt. The heart just does not do that. It's a vibratory field that is connected to unity consciousness, and it is the intensity of the entire universe all right there in the center of your chest. But it is operating as an impulse. Now, your heart is working on an electrical impulse. Remember, your heart is love. When you're lovable, worthy, acceptable, your heart feels so happy. If you believe something different, your heart can feel depressed. And depressed is something one does to themselves. It doesn't happen from the outside, does it? It moves through the individual because there is judgment and a sense of censoring oneself. So if there's nothing else that comes of all this, for each and every one to recognize how they have censored themselves, how they have kept themselves, and remembering too that this masking that is going on is people may be sneaking their nose out so they can breathe, but they're leaving their mouths covered up. And some people find that very comfortable. They're very comforting. They don't have to speak it. They don't have to worry about what it is that other people are going to speak to them. It's a safety zone. So as soon as you get into the bravery of your own being and your own graciousness, you don't need to hide behind any kind of an implement that causes one to feel as though they are muffled. You want to be able to be clear and strong in your belief system, in your presentation, or in your beautiful reserve of just holding the light and holding the energy on the positive aspect of any particular sequence of events that is going on. So not getting engaged in arguments is not useful. And we started out by saying, remember that word, opinion. Opinion's not useful. It doesn't do anything. It just brings up for the ego a way to engage in what is happening. All right? So it's good to talk to you, little ones.